Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. I am Kevin Lieber. I am full of hate, bubbling, broiling, boiling, and stewing. And with me, as always, is Matthew Tabor.
The blood pressure is high. It's dangerously high. We do this in HD so you can see like the big forehead vein just pulsing and throbbing because of all the hate.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get deep in the hate, this broke minutes ago? Did you see that James Vanderbeek died? It's just been announced that he died. I guess he was ill with cancer and has gone on, or has gone up, as they used to say. That was the tasteful way. Nobody said like, oh, Grandpa passed away 100 years ago in like rural New England. It was, back when Grandpa went up. What a lovely way to say something you don't want to say. So I guess today James Vanderbeek went up, or maybe he went down. I don't know him. I didn't know him personally. I have no reason to believe he shot down, but anything is possible. We never know everybody's secrets, do we?
No. So on that note, with the breaking news of Dawson from Dawson's Creek Bass, I did know that he was sick for a while. Also, the lead singer of Three Doors Down died at only 47 years old. I mean, this is why, I'm just terrified of waking up tomorrow and being dead. So it's time.
It's not great.
Yeah. When I say make something mean something, I actually really do mean that. It's time to make stuff, people. Like get on it. And make stuff that people love, not hate, because that is what we're talking about today. Is if you've ever woken up and you're still, alive, breathing and kicking, and in between the up and the down.
The jury's still out on which way you're going to go.
Which direction, which elevator you're taking. And you ever find yourself just hating everything? I've gone through periods of this several times in my life. I've had several I hate everything periods. Mm-hmm. So I think that I have some strategies for dealing with the I hate everything period, but
you've had some serious ones. You've had some good, deep hatred, haven't you? Yeah.
I'm well seasoned as a hater.
I don't think I have. And this is interesting because you've had, peaks and valleys with the whole thing. Whereas I run, like, how some people are like, oh, my temperature just runs hot or runs cold. And like, I'm always deviating from the mean. That's just me. Well, that's how I am with this, where I think I run like a low grade hatred extremely consistently every day of my life. It never gets high, but it never gets worse than that either. I've never had really difficult doldrums where I'm like, oh, I got to pull out of this. Like, no. This is just nice, smooth hate.
Smooth river of hatred. You're just the lazy river. You're just on one of those inner tubes, just floating down the red river of hate. Well, what I wanted to say is it's not just about me. It's not just about you, Matt, your lazy river of hate. This is something that I have seen come up kind of a lot with strangers, with people that I don't know, seeing online, people just generally being like, I don't really like things anymore. Mm-hmm. And there was even a comment on our podcast last week on the YouTube upload from somebody who was like, I agree with Kevin that I just don't like TV shows right now. There's nothing I want to watch. I don't like any of it. And traditionally, like the feeling of hating everything or just a loss of interest in things that you used to be interested in was a pretty large flapping red flag of a sign of depression.
Yes.
I'm not sure that's the case anymore. And I don't know how to prove that theory, but I don't necessarily think that what we're seeing with people being like, I don't like this anymore, I don't like that anymore, is necessarily because they're depressed. What do you think of that theory?
I think that's absolutely accurate. And it used to be diagnostically, the loss of interest in stuff, especially that you previously really liked. That was a marker and a red flag. Then you're talking disapproval. We're saying, when we say hate, we mean it with a massively broad brush. It encompasses the serious dislike of something. It also mostly encompasses the that stinks.
Disinterest.
Disinterest to stinkage, right? And that's really what most of the kind of Wojak level hate is, which it's important that, the Wojak isn't snarling and screaming and angry. It's not like this visceral angst. It's just this stinks. This stinks, and I'm tired of things stinking. But you're right. That used to be fairly rare, especially for a prolonged period of time. It used to have such a strong correlation with other problems. Other problems, whether they were mental or physical. It'd be this is so out of the ordinary that if this is happening to you, there's very likely some kind of comorbidity happening that you should think about and put some attention toward. And now, if you use that as a strong diagnostic criteria for kind of anything, 99% of the people we know would be waving the same red flag. You're just walking down the street, it would look like one of Mao's parades. It would be insanity. It's just how much the disappointment has spread and how much it's infected so many different areas. So yes, I think you're completely right about that.
Yeah, I think it's more of a general, cultural hate, cultural malaise, but it's just a cultural disinterest in so many different aspects of reality for people engaging in things that they used to like, or a lot of people used to like, and now nobody likes, or whatever it is. So, like I said, there have been several instances of this throughout my life, and I've navigated it in different ways successfully. I believe
Okay.
it's never been something that just knocked me down. And I mean, I remember saying to you a couple of months ago, uh, something along the lines of, I realized I hate everything, but I'm not upset about it. I'm not sad
Yeah.
about it. I'm not depressed about it. I'm not oh, this is horrible. And, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. It's just oh, I don't really like anything right now. And,
Yeah.
huh.
It's a different scenario. Yeah. And there's never been a point where I've known you where I thought damn, he's in trouble. He's really, kind of bouncing on rock bottom. No. So even when things have been roundly disappointing, it hasn't been a life ruiner. It's just been sort of, I think it's similar to just somebody not being hungry. You're not
Oh,
angry about it. You're just yeah, I don't want it. There's nothing I want to eat right now. And so I just won't eat.
yeah. Well, I mean, not eating certainly is a problem. Maybe we could just specify it to a particular type of cuisine. I'm just,
Maybe you skip lunch as opposed to skipping January on eating.
yeah, right. No eat January would be a rough one, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. So here's one of the things that I've done. I think in the last 2 years, probably
Okay.
or so, when it comes specifically to what? Why are you?
Can I stop you?
Why are you interjecting?
Can I stop you?
Yes.
I'm so tired of your explanation that I'm going to stop it before it starts.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
No, I was going to ask if you were comfortable with this, can you give a sentence or two about what led to that state? So
What led to
you
the
were in the
state?
state, but what precipitated you being in that spot?
Well, it's actually pretty easy for me. It's that
Okay.
when I'm doing a thing that I used to lose myself in, instead of enjoying that and losing myself in it, I feel like I'm wasting my time. I sit there and I'm like, I
Okay.
should be doing something else right now. Like, I don't care about this. This is a waste of my time. That's how I think
Okay.
about it. Like, that's sort of the difference is like, on one hand, when I'm enjoying it, it feels like a good use of my time. I'm getting
Mhm.
something meaningful at some level out of it.
Yep.
Um, and then when like sort of the spigot gets turned off, I'm sitting there being like, I should do like literally anything else. I should go clean the shower. I don't know. That it's like that
That's
stark of a difference.
that's grim. That's grim when the alternatives that you're thinking about doing are just not cool things.
Route
They're not
work.
fun things. Yeah, yeah. No, I've actually it's you making that distinction is interesting because I've had periods there too where it's like, oh, this thing that I used to enjoy, I don't want to do that. I guess I'll go outside and pick up sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's its
Yeah.
own level of grim.
It is, but at some point, sometime, yeah. I mean, whether it's your body yelling at you to just move, which is absolutely valid
It
for
happens.
certainly for me as being as sedentary as I am, and I think a lot of people are in that bucket.
Yeah.
That's part of it. And then another part of it is just not being intellectually stimulated by
Mm,
whatever the thing that sort of you used to be captivated by
yeah.
mentally. If
Yeah.
it's you're no longer captivated by it, then it's like, what is the point of me doing this? I should just do something else. So that has happened to me with a lot of different things, with a lot of different shows. And I'll get into these sort of funks, I suppose you would call them, where no matter what I try to watch, I am bored by all of it. I'm just none of it is. I'm like,
Got it.
don't care. I was the most recent thing was with I watched the first season of The Mayor of Kingstown. I thought it was good. I started
Mhm.
the second season and I was like, don't care. I
Oh,
don't care about
you
any of
dropped
this.
out.
Yeah, I don't
You
care.
dropped you're a
I, li-
Kingston dropout.
I guess
No
maybe at
kidding.
some point I'll revisit it, but I was like,
Hmm.
I don't want to sit here and watch any of this anymore. So I stopped.
I would have thought that one would have held you.
And
If I would have thought I was actually excited when we were talking about it a while ago because I thought this is 4 seasons of TV that's ready to binge, and I think it's a great fit. I think he's going to go straight through, and it lost its magic, didn't it?
yeah, I guess I just wasn't compelled by it any longer. There's nothing happening where I was like, I can't wait to see what happens next. I was just like,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't care what happens next. And so when that has happened, I either just stop watching TV completely and do something else,
Mhm.
which I've done through different periods, or interestingly, at least I find this interesting. What I've done the past couple years is I go back and I watch an old show. So,
Okay.
like last year, I think it was last year, I watched Columbo and
Mhm.
really enjoyed watching Columbo for a lot of it was for like aesthetic and cultural purposes.
Sure, because that's a unique one.
Well,
That is a unique show.
and it's the 70s and
Yeah.
you can watch a film from the 70s and get like an hour and a half of that taste.
Mhm.
Columbo is season after season of hour-long episodes of all these different scenarios of the old cars and everyone is
Yeah.
smoking everywhere and drinking in the middle of the day and all of those things that are gone and have been gone for a long time that were just normal.
Mhm.
It was interesting to see. And it's real. It's not like I'm watching a sci-fi or a fantasy. It's like, this is just the fashion and the cars and
Yeah.
the way that offices were decorated and the typewriters, and I just like seeing the old
It truly is the
technology.
whole
It's just
thing, yeah.
it's cool. It's a time
It's
capsule.
awesome.
But I ran out of those to watch. So what I started watching instead recently, which I'm sure some of our nerdier listeners will be really happy to hear, is Star Trek: The Next Generation. I have been watching.
Yeah,
And that I find interesting for a lot of different reasons.
I like that too.
You've watched that?
I've watched most of it. So I had a friend in college named John, and John liked Star Trek without you'd never know that John was a Star Trek fan.
A Trekkie?
What I'm trying to say is John's a normal guy, right? Like you'd never suspect that he did this weird abnormal nerd thing. No, but it was maybe 15 years ago, and because we were talking on some platform that's long gone, and he was telling me, you should watch the original series, and I'd never done it, and I was in Israel at the time, and I didn't have any TV. I didn't have any VPN type access to Netflix. I was really stuck. So all I had was the other ways to get content. The frowned upon ways to get content. Those piracy ways. And honestly, a show as old as Star Trek, the original series, means that the file sizes are nothing. So I was able to get everything really easily on the bad connection I had. I actually had to go to a McDonald's to use the Wi-Fi, and sat there and ate slop as I waited for Star Trek episodes to download. But anyway, I watched that straight through, and I'm so glad that I did it. I'm not a fan really at all. But it was that same sort of time capsule in terms of science fiction being presented. The writing was super interesting, and you had good ones, you had stinkers, which I'm sure you're going to go into. But when all that was done, I think it's on Paramount, maybe. Is it? Yeah. I'm like, you know what? I never watched this when it was out. It was 87 or so. Does that sound right? 87, 88?
The Next Generation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, late 80s, early 90s.
I didn't watch that as a kid and just had never been into it. I'm like, I'll do the same thing with this as I did with the original series. And I'm glad that I did. I'm really glad that I watched it. So I haven't seen 100%, whereas I have with the original series, but I watched a lot of it. I've seen a bunch of it.
Yeah. Well, the stinker part is part of what's interesting about it to me, is that the variance in the quality of the episodes is pretty high, in a way that I find interesting. Like, I'm not like, oh, this one stinks. It's like, oh, this one stinks.
Yeah, because it's like 22 episodes a season.
So many episodes. Yeah. So many
and
episodes.
Just the schedule was different. The demands were different. And you know what? They had to phone in a few to make it work.
They did. It's a lot of ideas that they had to come up with, and some of them were bad. So you'll have these episodes. Like, there was one excellent episode that had to do with whether or not Data was property of Starfleet, like whether he was the property, like as if he were a toaster, that they could decide to do whatever they want with him, right? Or with it, as they were referred to him in that episode, or
the
whether or not
he had
like some kind of free will,
that's interesting,
agency, or whatever.
Yeah,
it ended up being a courtroom, logic battle.
Yeah.
Over whether or not, Data had the sentience in order to decide what happened to him or whatever. And it was awesome. It was so
cool.
Smartly written and everything. And I was like, this is great. And then, like, a couple of episodes later, there'll be one where Wesley, who's like the younger kind of teen on board.
Yeah. The Will Wheaton, Wesley Crusher.
Horrible character. The worst part of the show. A whole episode of him falling in love with this girl who is a shapeshifter and can, like, turn into any shape that she wants. But it seems like her default shape is actually this, like, horrible, hairy alien monster costume. Like, looks really, really rough. Like, looks as rough as when you see clips of the original Captain Kirk Star Trek, of like people in costumes. It looks that bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But you sit through that one as well because you're like blown away that this one sucks so much. So
Yeah.
it's
It's
interesting.
oddly not disappointing. Like when there's a current show and you're watching along and something really disappoints you, you're kind of bothered by it. I am, at least, where I'm just like,
Mm.
oh, this sucks. But if it's something like an old show like that, I don't take it personally. I'm just like, oh, this stinks. Here are the reasons why this stinks. And I enjoy. I have a good time with the stinkage, and I'm just not like angry that episode 14 of season 3 of a 30-40-year-old show isn't that great.
Well, and
So
you,
yeah.
the context of the volume issue comes into play when it comes to your
Mhm.
reaction, because
Mhm.
when you're waiting 3 years for 8 episodes of House of the Dragon or whatever, like it better be good. So then when it's
Yeah.
not, you're like, yo, like what are we doing? This cost how many millions of dollars? And it took me, it took you 3 years to make, and it's boring? What?
Mhm.
How is that possible? Whereas back then they were cranking out 22 episodes of this crap every year. Was a
Right.
new slate of 22 hours essentially of and each episode being wildly different because it wasn't serialized, it was episodic or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you would have a good one and then you'd have a bad one and maybe you'd have a couple of okay ones in a row. Like it was this interesting roller coaster ride
Mhm.
to be on, which I think is a tremendously different experience than yes, waiting 3
Completely
years for
different.
your favorite show to come back, and then it's like, "Man, that wasn't very good."
Yeah. And this snapped you out. This are you watching ugh, I don't want to say TNG because I don't want to be one of these people. I don't want I don't want to cross over into the fandom. I actually really like driving by the nerd car wreck and gawking a little bit and then being on my way, right? Um,
Rubbernecking.
yeah, I like rubbernecking the problematic thing. And this is it's neither here nor there. But I read this thing in I want to say if it's McLean, a publication. I read this like 16 years ago about like a task force in Canada that found this strong correlation between the stings they were doing. This was like To Catch a Predator style stings where they would go online and find guys doing things they shouldn't have been doing, and they found this correlation with being Star Trek fans, and it was such a fascinating thing that I talked to a lot of people about it at the time, saying like, "What do you think the issue is here?" And there was this consensus that um, this extremely malleable world with no rules until you encounter a problem and figure out the rule, which is really the pushing the boundary and frontier that happens in all the Star Trek stuff. They're making it up as they go along. That this had a psychological appeal to people who really didn't like the rules or respect the rules of society at large. I found that compelling. Found that compelling and fascinating. But it absolutely reinforced the most horrific stereotypes of the Star Trek fan.
Oh, gosh.
But I never shook that. It was a really interesting article. So anyway, The Next Generation. Are you still plowing through this, or have you completed
Yeah.
it?
No. I mean, there's so many episodes. There's several, I don't know how many seasons, 5 seasons, 7 seasons, something like that. It'll take
Yep.
me a while. And, yeah, like I'm set to just slap that on. And I do like the retrofuturism element of it as well,
Mhm.
where it's like funny to see what in 1989 uh, they thought technology would be like compared to, where we're at today. All of that stuff it's fun for me. So that's one of the things that I have done in recent years is go backwards. Just say, okay,
Yeah.
there's nothing, all this stuff that's coming out now, none of it interests me. Maybe there's something that I missed. Um, and you can do that with music as well. I've definitely done that with music over the years as well, where, yeah, there's just no new artists that I'm super interested in. And I'll just go backwards and like, oh, I never really listened to like so-and-so before. Maybe I'll like them now. Um,
Yeah.
so that's one path. That's one
So
route you can take.
one path out of this is to dip into the past, whether it's new past to you or revisiting the past to you. This is a category of cope for the life suck, right?
It absolutely is. Yeah. Yeah. Like I did this with Westerns years ago, where with movies, I was just bored by all the movies that were coming out. And I was like, you know what? I haven't even really watched that many Westerns. I've watched Tombstone and Unforgiven and Young Guns and, but I never watched anything from John Wayne. I had only watched like one Clint Eastwood.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So dude, it took me half a year to just watch like John Wayne and John Ford was the director, right? Who did a bunch of bangers.
Did a lot of early stuff. Yeah.
They're great. I was like, this is awesome. I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah. So that's a genre that I don't want to say watched exclusively, but I mean, it was like Westerns and war movies probably accounted for like 95% of everything I watched until I was, I don't know, in college. I was not into Jurassic Park as a kid.
That's so weird.
I was
weird.
Dinosaurs.
Dude, you were, how old were you?
I was in fifth grade. Yeah, I was in fifth grade when Jurassic Park came out, and it was the biggest thing in the world, and like all the other kids liked it.
11-year-old boy, dinosaurs, and it was amazing too. It's not like
I didn't even see it. I didn't see it till years later.
That's so weird.
Yeah. It wasn't on, but I did watch. All the Western stuff that you named that you had seen. That's all at the tail end of that genre. Unforgiven is like sort of the close the book on that chapter of Westerns. And there have been a few really good ones since. 310 to Yuma, the remake was really good. A bunch of remakes have been really good.
Open Range is good.
Open Range is at the very top for me, even though it's not exciting. It's actually at the top because of its realism and how mundane almost all of the interactions are. Open Range is oddly realistic, except for the gun battle, where Kevin Costner opens shooting many more shots than he actually had in the guns that he carried. I don't like that, but that gun battle itself is very long and very slow. It's much more realistic than the gun battles in almost every Western, which is over in like 45 seconds, It's just like massive pew pew that just goes crazy. The reality is like reloading took a little while. It was really slow. You missed almost all the time, and Open Range does that well. But anyway, the heyday of all the Western stuff from the TV, shows like Gunsmoke, and Bonanza, all the way up to the movies. That was dwindling, by the 70s. That had kind of been replaced a bit. It had run its course. But from like 1948 until the late 70s, it was the best. It was the absolute best. So I watched tons and tons of that. And I like the both positive and negative morals that happen in Westerns. It's always very clear. When it's murky, that's super interesting, but it's surprising. Almost all the time, the motivations and you know who to like and who not to like. I enjoy that. I like the clarity of that. Whereas now everything is like, is the bad guy actually really good? Is he the good guy? No. How about we take the piece of garbage who's committed crimes and find a way to put a bullet in his head? That's a good movie. I don't need a tremendous amount of depth, But yeah, that's super interesting to revisit, to go back and watch the Westerns because so many of them are so good, right? Like, I don't know if there's another genre where you can say there are 50 bangers straight out of the gate that you can watch and not be disappointed by.
Well, I mean, part of that is just a numbers game because they made 90,000 of them. So yeah,
Yes.
50 of them definitely were bangers. So it's like all they made for like 40 years.
Yeah. It was cheap to make. It was cheap to write, quick to write.
And
Yeah, they
everything could
pumped
be
them out.
shot in their backyard, basically, of Los
Yeah.
Angeles. They could just shoot wherever out in
Everything was
Southern
easy
California.
to do, and it was so you get one guy who's a headliner or even borderline, like B-list, whoever's going to stand out. And then you get one person to oppose him. And then maybe you get another character that's interesting. Everybody else was just like showing up to work and doing a job on those movies, and so they cranked them out like crazy. When you get in the weeds on Westerns, there's so much forgettable stuff. I say that there's a list of 50 that's just straight bangers. But there's a list of 5,000 that stink. They're lame. They're not that good. If you're really into the genre, you could just chain those. If they're even anywhere. I'm sure they're all over YouTube. But if you go to thrift stores, this is a great place to see Westerns. Well, not see them, but to acquire the ones you see. Because they released all these box sets where the quality of the video is so low that they could put 1 million of them on one disc. So you'll get like a box set of 6 discs, and it's like 100 Western movies. And you can get that for $1 on the shelf because there's nobody else who's fighting you to buy this thing. And buy yourself like a year of just watching Westerns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a whole genre thing. So, I picked particular shows to go back to, but you could also just go back to like, horror would be another one that somebody could go back to. I mean, you start.
And sci-fi too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, another thing about Westerns I wanted to say is that there are a lot of ones that have been remade where both versions are awesome. So like True Grit, the Coen Brothers True Grit is great. Yep. And the original John Wayne True Grit is great. Awesome. And they're both kind of different too. So like there's no reason not to watch both. Like if you've seen one,
it doesn't diminish the other.
No. You should still watch the other one is what I'm trying to say. Because it's not like, oh, I've seen this before. It's like, oh, actually, this is more of a variation on a theme than it is like a copy and paste. Like they copy and pasted Psycho years ago. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
I don't remember who directed it. Gus Van Sant? Maybe not.
Okay.
Somebody like just copy and pasted Psycho for some reason, which is it's a weird kind of thing to do. They just did
the remake that didn't need to happen. They just kind of shot it again.
Yeah. But you could do that. You could do Alfred Hitchcock. I don't know, whatever. You could pick a thing and just go down that rabbit hole, and it'll probably be interesting.
Yeah, The Twilight Zone is great with this because that is, I believe it's all on Netflix now. And you can watch the whole run from The Pride of Binghamton, by the way, Rod Serling. I actually didn't know this, that he was from upstate New York until I was watching the show where the premise of the episode is a woman sees her doppelganger in a bus stop. She's waiting at the bus, like there's been some horrible weather delay, whatever. Maybe it's not her. Maybe she sees two men that are identical. Whatever it is, she's at the bus stop. And they're announcing and showing signs of the routes. And they're all these like niche routes in central New York State. And I was like, whoever wrote this episode had to be from there because you simply do not have this series of towns and this series of town names without a really good understanding of the geography of like the central leatherstocking region of in the southern tier of Western New York. And so I looked it up. I want to see who wrote this. Well, Rod Serling wrote it. And it's because he's from the area. He's from, he knew between Binghamton and Syracuse so well. And I had no idea at all that was his origin. But you can watch the original Twilight Zone, which is fantastic. It's one of the most exceptional things ever done. And you can see the whole thing start to finish. Yeah, you can probably pound it out in a weekend with no problem. That's a really good one to go back to. And it's manageable. It's not, I looked it up as you were talking, 69 episodes of Columbo. You watched all, so you're a Columbo 69er.
Well, let's be clear though. I don't have a response to that. I watched the first run of Columbo, which was in the 70s. And then he went away for a while, and then they brought him back. I think late 80s to early 90s. There was like another run. I would love to watch those. I couldn't find them. I don't know where to watch the second run of Columbo. Yeah. He's like more of an old man in that run. But I haven't seen that.
I need to really quickly cop to being an idiot, to being a complete moron. There are 156 episodes of the Twilight Zone in the original run. So wow. It's going to be more than a Friday night, but they are really short. And so that's kind of why I associate it with being able to chain the thing and get through all of it. But from 59 to 64, it says 156 episodes. And that is a show where they're not all the best thing you've ever seen. Some just are better than others. But even the stinkers are cool and short. So that's awesome. You may need more than a weekend.
A benefit of that is that you then unlock a lot of references to other things that you'll see in and the other things that you enjoy, whether it's movies or anime or whatever. If you watch like these really seminal and influential pieces, To Serve Man, like that kind of thing just shows up in The Simpsons and, all over the place. It's really cool to me, at least. I really like this when all of a sudden I get references. So like I started reading A Way of Kings, which is the first book in the Stormlight Archive that Brandon Sanderson wrote. First of all, I think the next day after I started reading this book, they announced an Apple TV deal with Sanderson to make a Mistborn movie and Stormlight Archive TV series. Like the next day, I was like, well, that was kind of an odd coincidence.
Yeah.
Then like 2 weeks later, I saw a thing going viral online where someone made like an AI slop imagining of one of the opening scenes of A Way of Kings.
Okay.
And since I had read that chapter like a few days before seeing this, I got to watch that and recognize what was being visualized. And that was really cool. So it's just one of those situations where, the more that you expose yourself to, like the more you get to enjoy sort of downstream of that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that hits a very like overarching broad point is that when you hate everything, you have to do something. You have to do kind of literally anything. Because if you don't do anything, you're stuck in the shell of just nothing moves. No ideas move. Nothing is new. There's not even anything new to hate. You can't even get your hate going. It's really destructive, and it's just like a pool of water.
Constipated hate.
It's constipated hate. My God, this is the only way to make hate worse is to be constipated with hate. But when you do anything, whether it's going back to an old thing that you've seen or something new to you, whatever, it's going to activate stuff like, oh, I saw this thing. Now I understand it better. This happened just now in the chat where some Mark Manali says this a thing about the episode I was trying badly to describe, saying, I think it's an Outer Limits episode, Fifth Dimensional Doppelgangers. Well, it was a Twilight Zone episode, but now I'm thinking about, what was Outer Limits? What was Twilight Zone? I liked some of the Outer Limits stuff. It just gets you moving. It gets you thinking about anything other than how much you dislike something, how disappointed you are by it. That's a fantastic thing to begin, is to get some kind of motion. And if you just sit there, kind of collecting moss, you just rot. You rot. It's a constipated hate. So even if it's not the best thing you've ever seen, maybe you watch Columbo and you don't turn into a Columbo fan. You're just like, all right. Okay, I did something. I did something with the Star Trek stuff. I'm still not a huge fan. I like William Shatner as a person. I think he's fascinating. And I did see him probably 10 years ago on stage, and it was mind-blowing. I don't know how old he was then. Somebody can probably say in the chat how old he is now. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This was probably 2016 or 17. He moved on stage with more energy and grace than I could at that time, at being like in my early 30s. His health, his body, I don't understand it. And I came to learn that he has a serious interest in longevity and extending his life. At least he did then. And it was mind-blowing to me.
He's 94 now.
It's almost impossible to believe with your own eyes. If he had been on stage, so he would have been mid-80s when I saw him. It was like Cocoon. There's a movie throwback where people are kind of getting younger. But if somebody said
that reference,
nobody gets it. Yeah, the Wilford Brimley scholars are few and far in between.
Yeah, diabetes.
If somebody had told me, if I had no idea who he was, and they said that guy is 50 years old, I would have said, "Damn, he's in good shape at 50," and he was 85 plus or minus. I've never in my I have seen one thing that was the same feeling. Twice in my life have I had this feeling. The other one was a few months ago with Willie Whacker from the Baby Gang in the Discord server for the podcast. He and I were out at a music bar, and a man who was at least 75. I thought he fell and severely broke like a femur or hips. And he slid up under his own power with his legs and popped up like a toy. I've never seen anything like. William Shatner was just like being a guy on stage and doing his keynote address and had this energy. But this guy jumped up, and immediately what sprang to mind is the really old guy in the Six Flags ads in the past who starts dancing to the Venga Boys stuff. It was that level of surprise where this is clearly a very old person who has a range of motion that should belong to, like, I don't know, a 24-year-old gymnast. I could not believe it. I thought it was going to be a 911 call, and then he just jumped up. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. Anyway, so not a huge Star Trek fan, but having watched that, I know so many more references and things that I see and encounter, just like scrolling on Twitter, that it's added to my life. It's made me happier. I know enough to see some garbage tweet or whatever by Will Wheaton and say, shut up, Wesley. You're annoying as a character and now you're annoying as an adult. I could do that now. I know exactly why he stinks. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, so a couple of things that I think are interesting to clarify. One is that I think that what at least I did with, well, all of these examples, at least so far, the Westerns, um, I did it with Japanese film at one point where I was just watching like samurai movies, um, is to do something completely different. Okay. Is like if you're in this malaise, one way to get out of the malaise is just to like completely turn your gaze someplace
Mm,
else. Like just stop looking at whatever is, blurring your vision and making you bored and like look elsewhere. And you can do that, I think, to a much starker degree than just watching a different genre. You could just watch nothing. So there was a another period of my life where I didn't, I didn't watch any movies. I didn't watch any TV. I didn't play any video games, which is like probably really surprising for you to
yeah.
hear. Uh,
Yeah.
I didn't do any of those things at all.
Is this when
Uh,
you were in prison?
this is when
Because
I
it
was in
sounds
prison.
like you were in a
Yeah.
prison cell
Yeah.
and had no access.
I was making, I was taking honey buns and then like nerd candy, and I was making like special pies, for my cellmates. No, yeah, but this was, right before Vsauce, I think.
Okay.
This was like a few years before Vsauce. Um, I wasn't consuming. When you talk about consuming with two O's, I
At
wasn't
least two O's.
consuming anything. I wasn't reading books. I wasn't reading comic books or manga or watching anime. I wasn't doing anything. All I was doing was working a ton. So
Mhm.
I had two jobs, and I worked 6 nights a week, uh, every week. I didn't take for, years, and writing. That's when I was doing comedy writing. So that was like literally all I did. I would just work, sleep, um, and then create, like draw
Yeah.
comics or, write jokes, um, try to make, I made a short film at one point. I made that Garbage Man short film. So that's it. I would just work, 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 make stuff, work,
Mhm.
make stuff, work, make stuff, no consuming. So this is another option I wanted to throw out there, is that it can be really useful to get out of your apartment, get out of your house, just have someplace else to go that you have to be at. Can be really helpful,
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
for a lot of reasons,
Mhm.
and also to, yeah, work on making something rather than just consuming stuff,
I, I want to
shoving it in
ask
your
you about
mouth.
this. I want to poke at this a little bit because obviously we've talked about it for years about how to create things and why to create things and just everything related to creative. We've talked about it to the nth degree. What percentage of people do you think that's an appropriate path for? Because the other thing we like the kind of sucky theme that we've talked about is how brutally difficult creating things is. And I think some people thrive with that and other people uh, are more feel more downtrodden when something is incredibly hard. Or, somebody in the chat said a long time ago, so I can't remember who it was, said that, if everything stinks, if you hate everything you see, you've got to create what you do want to see. And that's 100% true. I believe that completely. However, it's insanely difficult, and there are limits to it as well where you can't you can't really create a TV show out of nowhere. That's a process. Um, you can create small things. You can write anything. Anybody in the world is capable of writing a short story. So there's some creation that can happen. But do you think it can I'm s- I-
What are you
I'm
laughing
really
at?
sorry because Willy Wacker has now given the full detail on on what we saw. Can I read this so we can move past it?
What? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He said he was over 70, 2-foot jumped, both feet off the floor like a bleeping Olympic gymnast, then landed in a perfectly executed split, legs out front and back, not sideways, then got off the floor, jumped up like it was nothing. And he 100% gray and white hair. And he had one of the, I don't know the name, you'll see it in the Discord, of the caps that, like a flat cap that's sort of like of English vintage, like a tweed cap. He was wearing one of those. And yeah, he jumped up off the floor like that and immediately, like without taking a breath, just went back into conversation with some girl like a third his age. I when he went down, I was like, this is a broken man. Yeah, really impressive. But anyway, what percentage of people do you think can do what you did, where they go deep, immerse themselves in a creative project and have that pull them out?
Okay. Of the general population, very small. Of the percentage of people who listen to this podcast, very high. So I think
Yes.
I think it's a really useful
high.
thing for us to talk about, because from the people who listen to this podcast, I think it's beneficial for them to hear. The majority of the people who listen will be able to understand and relate to it. And it doesn't have to be create something. Like you have to be me, and you're just like, I need to write music and I need to draw comic strips and I need to, you don't have to be like that. It could be carpentry. It could be just
Yes.
whittling. It could be some sort of hobby, knitting and crocheting, and you could put jigsaw puzzles together. Like there are a
Yeah, it can
ton
be anything.
of hobby, like hands-on hobby things
Mhm.
that aren't necessarily creating something from
Media.
scratch.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be media at all.
No.
And over the years too, it's been awesome to see what people actually do with their time and talent over the years. You follow somebody on Twitter and, they'll post, be like, here's what I'm making in my garage, and even here's the workspace I've created and I've set up. We've seen a few of those that are fantastic. All manners of this stuff that it's not digital, it's not media, it's not a YouTube channel, and it shouldn't ever be, right? It's just the stuff that they're doing. And some of it is so cool. I love it.
Yeah. Not that it shouldn't ever be. I mean, a YouTube channel could be a perfectly viable thing to
Oh, yeah.
work on, rather than, watching
Right.
movies or TV shows or doom scrolling. I mean, that's really,
Doom scrolling.
let's just be completely honest about what the actual alternative is it's doom scrolling. It's not watching movies, because as we've established, that's an unk activity. And no one under the age of 30 watches movies. For the most part. That's an exaggeration. We do have Weezer Good in our Discord, who I get excited every time he pops in and just wants to talk about, I just watched whatever it is.
I love seeing this. Yeah.
It's fun. But that's, I think, really it's like a unvelcroing from the phone is really the major concern for most people, I think.
It just occurred to me what the absolute easiest, most accessible bit of creative stuff is. Just go and cook something.
Oh.
Go and make a meal, you idiot, because you have to eat anyway. Like, this is a skill that's going to pay off forever.
Or
and
bake something. That can be cool.
Yeah.
Baking can be cool.
Go to the kitchen and do literally anything. It's going to be a profitable use of your time, one way or another. But when we talk about diving into something creative, I said, shouldn't be a YouTube channel. I just mean because you should just be doing the thing like that in its own. There's plenty of value in you being offline and making the thing. But it doesn't have to be. You don't have to learn fine woodworking. You don't have to go crazy with 3D printers. Like, honestly, go make some pasta. Go make some pasta, eat it, and then think, oh, next time I'm going to do this. I'm going to do, I'm going to add this thing. Or, you know what? That was awesome. I want to make exactly this again. That is creation. It's incredible. And you have the opportunity to create with food multiple times a day as long as you live. And believe it or not, other people have those opportunities too. You can create this thing for other people. Most stuff depends on whether somebody's into it. Well, everybody's into food. Maybe not the exact thing that you're going to make, but everybody needs to eat. Everybody has a way to do this too. You don't have to go out and buy stuff. Honestly, I cook a lot. I cook more than probably anybody I know. I cook everything. I don't buy anything pre-made. With the exception, I get frozen pizzas on the Super Bowl day. Because it was like one day a year, I'll get some frozen pizzas, I don't use very much. I use one pan mostly. I like having an air fryer, but I don't need it. The amount you can do with one pot and one pan, oh my God, it's endless. And that's the lowest possible bar. Go cook some food.
Yeah, well, especially like if you look at like older recipes like Spanish cuisine, Portuguese cuisine, where they literally just kind of had one pot to cook in.
Yeah.
And they just threw everything in there, the pork and the rice, and mixed it all up, and it's delicious. Yeah, it couldn't be easier. That's a really good suggestion. I like the baking idea because
Yeah.
that's really easy to share. You make like a whole bunch of cupcakes or cookies or, whatever it is, little fritter things.
Mhm.
Now you have like a big platter of them and here, I made this. Well, what do you think? That's a good thing to do. But the real thing to do is not nothing.
Not nothing.
Nothing is not a good thing to do.
No.
That's not going to really help.
I'm
Not
trying
for
to
an
think.
extended period of time, at least. Maybe you do need to do nothing for a day or a weekend.
Yeah. I mean,
That happens.
well, that's true. A break, a reset is nice. And not having any surprises. Something that really gets to me is when I don't have, when I have constant surprises through the day, because I really kind of arrange things in a highly specific order so that I can maximize, my energy level and time and all of that stuff. And when that gets thrown apart, I really have a difficult time dealing with that. And so just when there's a prolonged period where even if nothing is happening at all, that means there are no surprises. Nothing. It's amazing. But we've talked about, I'd make the distinction between if you are completely dissatisfied with all things, there are two ways to go. Which way, Western man? You can go without, which is outside of you. You're looking at old shows, you're doing something like that. What do you think can happen if you go within? Is there a way to break this internally without having external forces help you through it?
I don't know.
This is much harder, I think.
Yeah, it is harder because I think that a lot of that indifference like is internal, and in order to get out of that, you need to get out of your head.
Yeah.
You're just it's like that negative thoughts study that came out. Did you see this? Where it's like negative thoughts, like perpetual negative thoughts actually lowers your cognitive
Oh, yes.
ability.
100%. And this is something that, I know I've talked about this many times. I can't remember if we've ever talked about it on the podcast, but the most destructive thing is rumination, where you pretty much think about everything that stinks in your life. And this to me is sort of the overall antidote, where whatever you're doing has to stop the rumination. And that can happen a lot of ways. It can be watching Columbo. It can be going out and, before we went live, I said something about like going out, picking up sticks. Like, it's not fun. It's not glamorous, but it ceases the rumination, because the worst thing that you can do is sit there and just think about what's wrong. And it doesn't mean that you're pretending that the things that are bad don't exist, but it means you're thinking about something else. You're not dwelling on it every single minute. And, I had a period where just things completely beyond my control were just bad. I had both parents extremely ill concurrently. They died within 2 years of each other. That stinks. We had some ups and downs on the work side, where just all the stuff, it's easy to just get mired in it. And nothing perpetuates the suck more than just plain taking stock of the suck over and over and over. And it doesn't mean that you think like, oh, I'm not going to let the death of a beloved family member bother me anymore. That's stupid. That's not healthy either, right? Like, that's idiotic to think that. And if that does provide any relief, it's going to be extremely short-lived. But when you just run the numbers on your, disappointing life, your Wojak-faced life, and only do that, it just gets worse. It gets so much worse. And all the things that you've said, just plain refocus your mind onto something else. When you think about the seemingly lame advice that people give to, the ones who are in a period of life suck or have a legitimate form of depression, it's stuff like, have you tried taking a walk? Well, you know what? That actually forces you to do something other than ruminate. You're looking around as you walk somewhere and taking in information second by second. That's different information than doom scrolling or sitting in a chair thinking about how sad you are. Do something to take your mind off of it. Well, that's lame advice, but at the same time, retranslate that to saying, do something that stops the cycle of rumination temporarily. Then it makes a lot more sense. So this platitude of like, find a way to take your mind off it, that's not useful. But when you think, well, what would take my mind off it? Maybe it's 69 episodes of Columbo. Maybe it's going to the garage and cleaning the garage, not even making a thing.
Organizing a thing. I know a guy. Let me tell you, I was talking to someone who I work with actually on the Curiosity Box, who was showing pictures of his shop, of his like workshop. And dude, the way that he has this workshop organized is stunning. Like, it's absolutely shocking. And he made a joke about it. He was like, it turns out I actually really like setting up my workshop and organizing it more than actually making anything in the workshop. And I was like, I love that you are cognizant of that fact, because it looks like it. It's like, this is you should be a workshop interior decorator, not, a woodworker.
That's awesome. Yeah. For me, I mean, one thing I've really liked to do in the past is depriming brass. Kevin, have I detailed this process to you? Probably.
Yes, you have. And I remember none of it.
I was going to say, I hope for your own sake that you tuned out every time.
Just fell out.
It shouldn't have stuck. It would have been a problem for you if it stuck. But, this is taking old shell casings and, sorting them out by caliber, which is its own process, with a tumbler that has certain sized holes in it so that, the little ones fall through and whatever. So you do all of that, and that gets a bunch of dirt and little stones and stuff out. And then you've separated them, and then you start the cleaning process, which it tumbles in, hot water for like 2 hours, something like that. And then you got to shake them dry because there's water inside the casing, whatever, do this. And then you can run them through a deprimer, which pokes out the spent little piece that ignites the charge in the cartridge. There's a little thing that gets poked, creates a tiny little flame inside. That's what ignites the powder and projects the projectile, right? So when you've shot a casing, that's got to be poked out and replaced with a new one to be reloaded. Well, I actually barely shoot at all. It's been a very long time since I've shot, but I really like processing brass. I like it a lot, and I started with the simplest possible setup where it was taking, with one hand, you take a single piece of brass and you slide it in the thing, pull on a crank, it pops that primer out, then you throw it in the bucket and you've deprimed your brass. Well, that, you do it one by one. It takes, 6-7 seconds. But at that point, I went and bought 18 5-gallon buckets full of spent brass from a local sheriff's department. They used it for training. And it was absolutely thrilling because I had like 100,000 pieces of brass that I then had to sort, wash, deprime, etc. And you can't, it's extremely repetitive. I like popping an audiobook on or something as I do it, but you can't sit there and just like think about how sad you are when you're constantly in motion. It's literally impossible to ruminate on how much your life blows when it's this constant motion of, grab the brass, put it in, crank the thing, throw it in the bucket. It's awesome.
If it were me doing that, I think that's exactly what I would be thinking. I'd be like, oh God, oh, my life blows. Just put it in the 5-gallon bucket. Here we go. But for you, you're like, this rules.
I was talking to my brother about this because we like complementary things with maintaining land, where the things that to me I get completely immersed in, like mowing, 4, 5, 6 acres, I'll mow for 6 or 7 hours at a time on, different lots. I love that. I tune out. I listen to some music, a really limited playlist. There are only about 40 songs in this world worth listening to. Audiobook, whatever. I like that a lot. And I started doing that on, one of his properties too. And I'm like, of course I'll do it. This is great. He's like, that's excellent, because for him, it was precisely the opposite experience. Where he's like, when I'm doing mindless stuff on the tractor, I just think.
He just is going crazy. Yeah.
He thinks. Yeah. And if it's a day where, you're not in a good mood or there are a bunch of bad things going on, you have forced yourself to have this like misery prison as you're then doing some kind of labor, Yes. So I think part of it too is finding the thing that, where you try a thing and you're like, oh, that one was bad for me.
Yeah, to me, your story of depriming the brass sounds like in the cartoons, because my brain is only cartoon references, where like Ren and Stimpy are in the army and they're just like peeling potatoes, and there's a mountain of unpeeled potatoes behind them, and they're just like over and over and over again. They'll never peel all the potatoes. That's what the brass thing sounds like to me.
Yeah, and I think you break one way or the other on that, where that's your solution or that's actually another one of your problems. But you don't know which one it is until you do it.
That's true.
Like And I know I don't want to stereotype here, Kevin. Don't want to get in trouble. But I've known a lot of girls and women who sincerely love cleaning. They'll be like, okay, life's a mess. I hate my life. I'm going to spend all day cleaning my house, cleaning my apartment. And for them, it's like the mowing is for me, where they just get engrossed, immersed in this thing, in domestic work, and love it. And that's cool. Whereas to me, I can't clean a bathroom and not want to drown myself in the tub. Like,
what a good sentence. Yeah.
I can't. And you only know which way it's going to be when you've done all those things. And you're like, all right, this is a healthy one. This one is actually going to make it worse. So you have to it's back to that do something, right? But really at a point, if you can take any bit of time and start thinking, why do I like this? Why is this helping me? Why is this harming me? You've got to do that too. Like that's the next level of it. And a sort of like little exercise that this guy told me like 20 years ago was, he said, have you stopped and thought, like, what would make me happy right now? What makes me happy? And he was doing it to fall asleep more easily at night. And he said, you realize that when you start to answer this question, you're exclusively thinking about good things. Like you're forcing yourself to have, happy thoughts. And even if it takes you a while to come up with something you'd like, you're never suggesting to yourself something that's awful. Nobody's like, oh, what makes me happy? Well, I wish I had a spoonful of dog poop going into my mouth right now. No. Actually, that's not very good. No, like you don't come up with bad options. They might be middling options, but they're never bad. And so it made a lot of sense to me to have him say, this at least snaps me out of a mood where I'm stewing and I can't fall asleep, takes me out of that. And usually I start thinking about things I really like and it relaxes me. That seemed really useful to me, that, you can scroll through Netflix and be disappointed by all the TV, to stop and think, what's a show I would like watching right now? And if it's me, maybe I want to see a good guy, bad guy Western where justice is served. Like, well, okay. Well, I can then find one of those things and I'm quite a bit better off. When you're just doom scrolling, you have this instant visceral reaction to a thing, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's trying to find a show on Netflix. And the first thing you do is sort of evaluate a thing on whether it's bad. And you probably have a good explanation on this, about that being a sort of lizard brain safety mechanism.
Oh,
do you think people are primed for this?
Well, probably. I mean, yeah, if you wanted to assume that there was like an evolutionary reason for pointing out danger for survival, that would be, and not that watching Jurassic World 7 is dangerous and going to harm you, but it could be, a byproduct of a similar filtering mechanism that your brain gets into. It's why, people are always complaining about like, oh, if I post something negative, it gets this many views, and I post something positive, it only gets this many views, and it's like, okay, this is probably because this is how our brains evolved to notice bad and kind of ignore good, because good for the most part is safe. It's not going to harm you. So you don't have to pay attention to that. But if it could harm you, then everybody, you need to pay attention to that. So yeah, there's probably a lot of that.
I think that's the first filter.
Connected. Yeah.
That's the first filter, is filtering out what you don't want, what you don't like. The classic thing is, where do you want to eat? When you're trying to come up with a good option, it is extremely difficult. If somebody asks me right now, what do I want to eat for dinner? I don't actually know. I could give you 10 things I absolutely don't want to eat. I don't like eating fish. I don't want to eat fish. I don't want to. I don't want to go to a long list of restaurants. What precisely do I want? Well, this is why you can stand in the kitchen for 20 minutes, not deciding what the good thing to eat is going to be.
Yeah, you open the fridge, you stare inside, then you close it, and then you walk away, and then you go back and you open it again. Nothing's changed. You still don't see anything.
Yeah, but if it's like you open it up and there's a tin of wet cat food that's half full because the cat ate the half in the morning, yeah, you don't want to eat that, and you know that. Well, what's the thing you actually want to cook? It's going to take me 20 minutes to figure that out. So it's really hard, but I do think you have to put the work in to say, like, literally, why do I need to watch Columbo now? Like, why is that an antidote to something that stinks in my life? Why do I need to go make a short film? I need to create and do this. That's a useful thing. To have just a short little bit of introspection so that you're better at dealing with it the next time. You're good now. You're really good at, you are really good at this. You knew to go back and watch an old show. You knew to have some kind of intervention because you're practiced at it now.
Oh, yeah. No, I can tell when my eyes are glazing over and I'm just not interested in a thing. I'm like, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not enjoying this at all. But this is the thing. So this was another sort of big idea surrounding this topic that I wanted to mention is that, I don't think most people think of, your options, in take a 30,000 foot view on your options the way that I do. So I always think, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I'm not sure that I am. I would really like to be into so many things that I just know that I don't have the time for. So for instance, having a cool manga collection where I have all of these comics, that like you have your bookshelf behind you. If I had one behind me of just, I don't know, Trigun and Berserk and whatever, I don't have time for that. I'm never going to, you have to pick and choose your interests because all of this takes time out of your day and there's only so much of it. So you have to pick and choose. I don't know anything about comic books. When people talk about Superman and Batman and there was this arc of Superman in 1997. I'm like, I don't know anything about that because at some point I threw my hands up and I'm like, I'm not a comic book guy. I would like to be. It seems really interesting. I love the artwork. I think it's freaking awesome. But it's just not happening. It's not happening for me. So I see life as having so many options that I'll never get to that I feel with that context in mind, I feel like when I'm bored with something that I used to be interested in, not that I'm relieved by it, but I think this is why I'm not sad by it is because I'm like, oh, all right. There are a million other things that are sweet that I have never, got looked at before. It could be anything, whether it's, mystery novels or, I don't know, literally anything. There's so much in life that you could possibly be interested in, whether it is making things with your hands, or, reading books and consuming media or making your own media or becoming a great cook or a baker. It's dude, it's amazing the amount of options that there are. And just do one of the other ones. It's okay if you're bored if you're like oversaturated and you're just, I don't know, you've spent all of your energy juice on this one thing and it's not interesting anymore. Okay,
Mhm.
go like this.
Yeah,
And there's probably something like sweet that you're starting from scratch on. And that's so cool. What
it
an
is awesome.
exciting place to be.
Yeah, that's the most fun is when you're starting on a thing. Like
Yeah, because
that's
all that's there for you is
it,
great. It's like
it's new and it's
it's
awesome.
all cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to do a quick throwback on the to the cooking bit because there's a contribution in the chat from Mo Makeup that says, "I keep looking in my fridge, thinking the contents are going to change, but they never do." And this is that like endless cabinet stare, especially for me who doesn't do a lot of grocery shopping. My cabinets really don't change. Like when I open the fridge, it's the same stuff all the time. But she says I like to pretend I'm on Chopped and see what amazing things I can make out of the random crap in my kitchen. That's what makes it fun for me. That's a sort of little attitude shift that changes everything. Where it's like, yes, I'm staring at something that pretty much stinks. It's that tiny little vision shift where it's not even to a new thing. It's not even to a different, well, I'm going to leave the kitchen. I'm not going to cook. I'm not going to eat a meal. It's like, no, I'm going to look at this slightly differently. I'm stuck with this bizarre combination of God knows what in the fridge. Well, that's the premise of one of the most famous cooking shows in world history is like, here's 4 things. What's something amazing that you can make out of it? And then all of a sudden, you are playing a game. You're in your own kitchen, having fun with the thing that 30 seconds ago was a detriment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tiniest little attitude shift like that.
Yeah.
You know?
But what I was trying to say is like, I'm staring at the fridge. I'm bored with all this food. I'm gonna go build a chicken coop. Like that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you like just doing like something. You could just do something completely different.
Yeah.
At any point like that's what I think people get locked into and why I think this is another way out of the I hate everything. It's like you don't hate everything. Okay, first of all, you don't hate everything because you don't know everything.
It's not
You
even
have
possible.
you know what you've experienced? Barely anything.
Mhm.
You have
Yeah.
experienced barely anything.
Yeah. Let's say
It's
1%. Let's say the most well-traveled, knowledgeable, like eclectic people in the world have 1%. 1% of the possible familiarity with what's out there. And that percentage gets smaller by the day because right now it's possible to find 1,000 people into the weirdest possible thing in 10 seconds on Google. Like the world is a very big place with a lot of people, an unfathomable amount of people, and they all do things very differently. You can go down any number of rabbit holes. We are going to die. We're going to die with familiarity of like the most infinitesimal percentage of stuff. All you have to do is just like look at something else. Yeah, I mean, I that point is actually huge that you just made. Like thinking that you kind of have exposure to all that's there is really stupid.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's so dumb when you think about it for just a second. You're like, oh, there's this incredible number of completely new and different alternatives that you don't even know what you don't know.
Mhm.
That why wouldn't you poke around in any of those?
Well, and I think yeah, it's one of those things where the more you know, the less you know sort of thing. So the more
Oh
that
yeah.
you do expose yourself to, the more the options open up
Mhm.
in what I'm talking about. It's almost
Mhm.
like the more that you do, the more that you can do. Does
Yes.
that make sense? The more that you know
Yeah.
that is possible to do.
Yeah, I'm very into collecting a bunch of different things, but especially cards, right? And this is the sort of mission creep that happens and I see this on Twitter where, somebody's like, hey, I just got into card collecting. And it's really cool. And they're excited because they bought some baseball cards or something. And then, you follow along with them. And a year later, they're like, oh, can you believe this Planet of the Apes sticker set from 1970, whatever? I got this at a yard sale for $5. They're in a completely different place because at that point they find out about one thing and then it leads them to 10 more. And then it's this massive tree that never gets smaller.
Like a
It always
Fibonacci
expands.
sequence.
Yeah. It's this exponential thing, right? And that's hard to manage on the collecting side because you have to make decisions about what to put time and money and stuff into. But in a breaking out of boredom side, in the let me stop ruminating on how garbage my life is and how I hate everything side, the world is literally throwing you millions and millions of new things to get excited about. And even if it's not ultimately something awesome, it's going to do the job of taking your mind off the suck for long enough to realize, I'm going to try again. You get to the third episode of Columbo. You're not a Columbo 69er like Kevin Lieber of Vsauce 2, the most famous Columbo 69er. You're not one of those. But you watch a few and you're like, wasn't for me. I'm going to go get another one. It's that easy. It's that easy.
Well, here's one more thing I wanted to throw out now that I thought about it, is that I think part of the issue goes back to the abundance problem and why having, Unk Slop Sherpa role is useful when you don't know where to start. Where do I start? If I have access to all of the things, how do you decide where to start on one? That's a really hard place. It's a crippling place to be. So I could see that being an overwhelming like stasis for a lot of people that I think you need to, talk to other people about in order to break out of that stasis.
Yeah. I can't think of a single time, though, I have regretted starting down a rabbit hole. I can't think of one instance where I chose something, whether it was after careful consideration or it was like, oh, that's cool. And I look into it for a bit. I can't think of one time where I've totally had regret over that situation. So the paralysis of, the abundance is sort of a fake problem to me in the sense that there's no wrong answer.
To you, though, this is what I'm saying. Like, you and I did not grow up in a scenario in which it was constant overabundance and overstimulation and everything was like, frying our brains.
That is fair.
Yeah, that's why I think it's okay to say from an iPad generation lens, like, look, if you need you need to talk to an Unk Slop Sherpa who can guide you or encourage you even. Like I've felt like that has been part of the fun of talking to Weezer Good about movies is he could get excited with me about watching the Coen Brothers.
Yeah.
It could be like, oh, I watched this Coen Brothers movie. Like, it's really helpful to talk to somebody who can relay some level of interest in what you're doing. If you're just on an island by yourself, and even if you love the thing, you're like, I don't have anybody to talk to about it, and that diminishes the overall enjoyment of it.
We talked about an example of this before we started. We were tweaking settings and all this. And there's this guy on Twitter who every year does this incredible statistical analysis of a series of baseball cards when it comes out. And I love seeing this, even though it's not my thing. I have no interest in collecting those cards, but I'm so blown away by this guy who has that Sherpa role in collecting, even though I'm not going to buy those cards. I don't care. It's not that. But the simple thing of following along with somebody else who's really excited about a thing, who's putting in, serious analysis and work, I respect it a lot. I read every word of this really long, detailed breakdown of a thing I don't like, and it's still awesome. Yeah. So, okay. So you think that's a more viable solution is find the Sherpa as opposed to just choose something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to choose? I think it can be really way harder for someone who grew up not having to choose because everything just was fed to
Right.
them with an algorithm, to all of a sudden become like, yes, I will decide to do this thing that is kind of irrational, and I don't know whether or not I'm interested in it. Like that, that's
It's
an
a tall
impasse.
order.
It's a tall order is a good way to phrase it. Yes, I think it's a
Yeah.
tall order.
Part of me wants to say, begin conditioning yourself. Begin like taking the leap. Get over the fact that it's not natural. Like it'll get easier each time. That's probably not as realistic as what you're saying. I think probably the deal with the pain of that slowly is less appealing and less of a fit for
Yeah.
we'll say the abundance generation. This is going to be the euphemism for these troubled youngsters. Say, oh, the abundance generation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. Well, hopefully this was a good breakdown of hating everything. I think in summation, probably don't hate everything. You just hate what is in front of you right now. There's an endless amount of things that are not in front of you that you might like quite a whole lot. So, keep that in mind. Also, if you want to join the Discord, there was a problem with the links in the YouTube videos recently with our Discord.
Oh yeah.
So I think we fixed those. I don't know. We're boomers, so it's hard to
We're
know
boomers.
what links do.
We have to wait for our grandchildren to come around and help us with the computer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's right. All right. Well, thanks to everyone for hanging out with us during this live stream. And thanks to all of our patrons for supporting the podcast. You can do that over on Patreon. Until next week, we will see you, Space Cowboys.